first press conference ever held by this board as a joint board, as we are here tonight to answer your questions and to hopefully, with you, celebrate and disclose the details to the agreement, contract agreement that we have with the NPEA that was approved this evening. We see it as peace till 2001, and we ask the media to join us in just that. It's not this board's place to suggest a headline for tomorrow's paper, but peace till 2001 is not inaccurate. So at this time, I'd like to introduce members on my side of this panel, and then we turn the floor over to Mr. Jordan to do likewise. Before I do, I'd like to thank the student cameramen that are here, staying extra with us this evening to cover this event. We appreciate each and every one of you for staying. I also like to thank Ken Weir and Gail Tatum for all the service they provided this board and the association as we prepared for this evening. Thank you both very much, Ken and Gail. This time, I'd like to introduce to the media, if you don't know already, our Solicitor Pro Tem this evening, Jack Dooley. He's here to represent the firm of Deschel, Bartle, Yanoff, and Dooley. Thank you. Also, our esteemed labor attorney and solicitor, Charles Sweet, Board Vice President Don Hill, Superintendent Dr. Bose, and I am Donna Mengel, President of the school. Mr. Jordan.
Okay, and obviously I am Jeff Jordan, President of the North Penn Education Association, and very pleased to have with me the other three officers of the North Penn Education Association. I'm usually the one that gets to talk to the press and get the pictures taken, but these other three people are always there with me and have been with me throughout this entire process. Debbie Appleton, our Vice President, Larry Morton, our Treasurer. Debbie and Larry are part of the team that had to do the investigation that was asked for by the membership, and our very busy Secretary Nancy Craig. We are the four officers, and I keep emphasizing to these three because they kind of look to, I think everybody kind of looks to a president as being the leader, but there are only four people in the North Penn Education Association elected by all the members. They're sitting here tonight.
And Nancy, Larry, and Debbie, I welcome you and thank you for all that you have done in your service to this community and to your association and board.
And while we're thanking Vince Patiri, our PSA Uniserve rep, who met with myself and Mr. Sweet and Dr. Bose, was unable to be here tonight. Certainly I thank the members of our executive committee who were fully aware of what we were doing when we began these negotiations back in January, and though many of them have serious questions about the final results and things that we need to resolve and work out within ourselves within the association, I thank them for their input and support. I thank the membership for coming forth this evening and casting their votes. They have done what I've always wanted to simply have happen, and that is that the membership choose which direction the NPA should go, because the NPA is the membership. It's not us sitting here tonight. It's the 848 members that make up the North Penn Education Association. And I'd be most remiss if I didn't thank the one person who stood behind me and with me throughout this, my wife Leslie, who had to put up with quite a bit with me in the last month and a half, and I thank her very much.
I would like to start out by probably bringing to your attention how this agreement came to be. I think it's best that that itinerary of events be given to you by Dr. Bose, but I'd like to let you know that each player sitting here this evening had a specific role to play in the negotiation process. For me, my role was informal in that I never sat down at a table in a formal setting such as the ESC and negotiated with Mr. Jordan or his team. My negotiations were informal in that Mr. Jordan and I, since the last contract, never stopped talking. And I believe it is a key to why we're here this evening. That despite our disagreements and despite areas and issues that we could not agree on, We never stopped communicating. We never slammed the door on one another. And we have met privately from time to time in informal settings, and we have talked frequently over the phone. I gave him what I believe was the best disposition that I had on the members of this board. I gave him details specific to the personality of this board and the agenda and expectation this board has as they feel it was delivered to them by the community. The last election made it quite clear what was expected from this board. The state of the community is that the taxes are split to the tune of 80% to salaries and benefits and 20% to the remainder of this district, including students and their instruction. The recent election shows residents are ever concerned about taxes and spiraling taxes. The board's solution has been to redistribute existing dollars towards students and curriculum as opposed to salaries and benefits. The 95 teachers settlement exceeded the recommendation of the arbiter at that time, and that arbiter was Chuck Sweet. One of them, our arbiter. And in an 11th hour move, added an additional year and more money to a proposal we withstood a strike for. Meanwhile, the 5th board member who voted for that deal purchased plane tickets to Colorado, listed his house 3 days prior to his vote, and put a sale sign on his front yard the day after he took that vote. Tonight's agreement keeps the board's promise to the community to do the following. This increase is not 1 cent above the cost of living. The cost of living hotline was called at the time we were about to sign, or Dr. Bose and Chuck Sweet were about to sign the tentative agreement with Mr. Jordan and Vince Patiri. That hotline related to this board that the cost of living was 3. 97, $98 million give back rights a prior wrong of a previous board and rectifies a year which was viewed by many and confirmed at the last election was a year of betrayal and upheaval. Many members in the community felt that that's not what they took a strike for. And when that board chose to go past the arbiter's report to award more money and to throw in an extra year, that board, not the association, that board did wrong. And this community rectified it. This allows us, with the concession provided to us by the association, to put money directly into the classrooms. And I would point out again the board's move tonight to replace 30-year-old textbooks. We might have to double think that move had it not been for the will of this board and the cooperation of the association. It allows us to keep taxes as low as possible for our residents. We are paying teachers and administrators well, in our opinion. This district and this board now is considering the students and the taxpayers as well for an overall holistic approach to the healing of this community. We believe this agreement, this contract, this peace till 2001 is a healing balm long overdue in the community. As for Jeff Jordan, he has been honest, he has been forthright, fair, and a very, very good listener. At all times, he has been a gentleman, and unlike the past, he's not been a bully or a union thug, which was prevalent in the last contract. I know, I was there. I didn't tolerate it very well. He's been academic in his negotiating style and professional in his exchanges. We stuck to the issues. He made it very clear when we spoke what his association needs and wants. He listened to what the board needed and wanted. And thank him for that very much. We never stopped talking, even when we disagreed or could not agree at all. We never stopped communicating. We made a commitment the night of reorganization of '95 that we would talk and do something different this time, that none of us could return to how it was handled in the past. That if this is a new era, as was expressed earlier this evening, then we had to prove it. New leadership, new era, new times are about to enter a new century. We agreed that the last contract was no way to do business and no way to treat the community or one another, that all parties and all people deserve better treatment. We want to be a board that knows the cost of everything and the value of everything. You hear this board meeting after meeting after meeting, wanting to know about the nickels, the dimes, the pennies, and the dollars. But sometimes there are values that there's no dollar that can be tagged to it, such as peace. How does this board put a dollar value on peace? A quick answer would be that by settling now, we do not have prolonged labor contract negotiations that we will pay a hefty price to a labor negotiator to handle for us, which this board already agreed, should this not have prevailed, that Mr. Sweet would do. This board made an agreement and made a decision in front of this community that never, ever again would a personnel director negotiate a contract for North Penn as long as most of us were here. It was even very clear in Dr. Miller's understanding when she took the job as personnel director that that would never be expected of her as part of her job performances, and that we would go to an outside negotiator to perform those services. But how do you place a value on peace till 2001, which allows this board and the association and its teachers to move ahead in the areas of building, curriculum, accountability, and assessment? This forces the board to return back to the students where we should have been all along, and off the adults. Dr. Bose, on the other hand, will lay out for you his formal sessions, as he can recall and as he can place them to you, that he had with Mr. Jordan. And it was there that the formal sessions took place. Dr. Bose was provided by me and Mr. Hill as officers, where we felt the board would be open or where they would be resistive. We pointed out the tar pits. We pointed out those areas where we felt we could make movements. Dr. Bose never once betrayed this board, its majority, in what it wished to do and where it wished to go. He has fully disclosed at all times his meetings with Mr. Jordan. Never once did I catch this superintendent in a lie, a clandestine meeting, or any covert activity whatsoever as it relates to the contract. Mr. Hill has been there as a board officer to not only provide the mature input he always provides, but to sustain the superintendent and myself as we try to do something different and move forward in the best interest of the community. Charles Sweet did such a good job for this board as an arbiter in '95 that those of us that made it through that horrendous election, which made up a new majority of this board, remembered those skills, remembered those abilities, and wanted him as our labor attorney. He beat out 6 other attorneys in a competitive bid that was requested, that he provided the board, and beat out 6 other candidates for that job. It is no surprise to me, and it should be no surprise to anybody in this field, that Mr. Charles Sweet is the most sought-after labor negotiator in southeastern Pennsylvania, and he has served us well, and I hold him in the highest of esteem. Mr. Dooley, along with Mr. Bartle and the law firm of Giselle Bartle, Yanoff and Dooley, were always there to check over and double check over the work that Dr. Bose, Mr. Hill, myself, and Charles Sweet attempted to do in an effort to find peace with the NPEA. So at this time, Dr. Bose, if you would relate your experience and if you would relate your involvement with this contract.
All those with any memory of my personal arrival as a member of the North Penn community know that that was August of 1995. And from the beginning of that arrival, while I was not present for negotiations that preceded that and the unfortunate disagreement between the association and the school district the strike and all the bad feelings and ill will that generated on both sides and on the part of the community toward both sides, or one side or the other. I certainly heard enough about it to be convinced that it was not useful to return to that unpleasantness again. And in fact, I thought this community could do better and would expect an effort to do better and support anything that might produce such a product. I'll remind President Mengel, because it was, I believe, in December of 95, you're right. No, it was December of 96, when Tom Clemens was outgoing president. And it is our custom that the president and the vice president meet with the superintendent at least once a month to talk about agendas, to talk about direction. And at that time, I brought to Tom Clemens and Donna Mengel the idea that I was willing to approach Jeff Jordan, by the way, with whom I had already talked about the potential of some face-to-face, one-on-one discussions with the intent that we might be able to resolve some of the difficulties of the past, because we might develop and hold mutual a goal that our efforts might realize together, and would not be possible if we were apart on it. So in December 96, I spoke to Tom Clemens and to Donna Mengel, and then again in January, when Donna became president and Don Hill became vice president, I spoke to them again and received a green light to enter into formal discussions confidentially with Jeff Jordan. We had talked about it, Jeff, my recollection is, without my notes, as early as September of 96, maybe even earlier. We had talked about the potential. And so with the board leadership's support, and I also remember Bill Allen encouraging me to find any potential that might exist that could lead to a different approach and a different outcome. So there were 4 board members who, by their own initiative or by their responsiveness to suggestions, were supportive of the idea. None of which would have been possible without what I believe is the personal courage of Jeff Jordan and his willingness to be a turtle and stick his neck out to get anywhere, which was the response needed to proceed. We started to meet in January of 97. I think the first one was 7:30 in the morning, if I remember correctly. And we had 6 meetings with just the 2 of us, talking through the issues, framing our mutual objectives, and agreeing to what we could agree on without help, and then agreeing that if we got to the point where we would need help, we would call in some experts. And it was on the 7th meeting that Mr. Sweet and Mr. Paturi joined us, both seasoned negotiators, both with a healthy respect for each other and some previous connection with each other, representing other parties elsewhere in the same exercise. And so there ensued, beginning with that 7th session, a number of sessions that concluded on March the 4th with the 10th session and a tentative agreement. I told Jeff with all candor that the last time I negotiated was when I was the school superintendent in New Jersey and my first year in Indianapolis. And frankly, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But that was negotiations as we generally know it through dramatic or fictional portrayals, or our knowledge of how it works in the real world of nuts and bolts and nitty-gritty, in-your-face bargaining. And frankly, I didn't like that because it was always characterized by animosity, acrimony, and positions that were contrary to one another. Positions that thought that you do well in negotiations if you win and the other party loses. I sensed in Jeff Jordan a view that was different from my previous experience, and maybe time has melded and made more mild my perception of that, but I really suspect it was the receptive chord I felt with Jeff Jordan and his courage and willingness to talk this through to some conclusion. We agreed from the beginning that we might not be able to see this through to some successful conclusion. And we agreed if that were to happen, we wouldn't consider the adversarial relationship personal, but we would consider it issue-oriented. On the other hand, we thought that if we could resolve the issues, it would be good for this school district and good for this community, and obviously very good for children. So let me end my introductory remarks here by saying the past is prologue, as I view it, and I believe the potential for 4 years of an opportunity to work together and to build a partnership. And I admire Jeff's sharing with me. In fact, we happened to read the same article in Education Week, which is a newspaper for school people, published on a weekly basis. It's a national paper, and we both read within a day of each other, I think, a commentary about how teachers' associations are going to change in the future. And I think what I witnessed here was the kind of leadership from our teachers' association that say it's already happening in North Penn, for which we should all be grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bose. Mr. Hill, I'm not skipping over you. Really, I'm coming back to you. Mr. Sweet, if you would.
It's not possible in every negotiation to have happen what happened here. Ironically, it's most likely to happen after you've had a period of real difficulty. This district had a period of real difficulty, and as a result, this was enabled to happen because nobody wanted to repeat that. I assure you that everybody up at this table, Mr. Bartle was very much involved, Mr. Dooley's partner. Everybody at this table had a great deal to do with the success of this. My counterpart, Mr. Pateri, is not here, but he was instrumental in this. It might not have happened if Mr. Pateri had not been involved. We hope this is good for the district. We're pretty sure it is going to be. We're pretty sure it's going to be good for the relationship between the parties. And I got a call from one of the PSEA officials who lives in the district who said, "I want to thank you. My son can now graduate in 2001 without ever having to worry about a strike again." And that's really the meaning of this. Every freshman will graduate without another strike.
Thank you, Mr. Sweet. Mr. Hill, anything you wish to add?
No, not. Most everything has been said, and I think the main point to bring out is that when these negotiations started, the main concept that we had in mind was that we were looking for a settlement that met the guidelines that most of us came into to the election in '95 with, that we would hold a contract cost to the cost of living in those areas, but more we would bring stabilization to the community and to the North Penn School District through a settlement as quickly as possible. And a lot has been said about the association, and a lot of credit has to be given to them, because I believe they came with the same goals in mind, to reach a settlement, to bring labor peace to the area, and to show that they're willing to move ahead, as we all are, to make a stronger and better North Penn School District. And I think that's all I need to say, because I think most of the other words have already been covered.
Two aspects of the contract that I'm hoping you will ask questions on in detail to Mr. Sweet particularly are the MOUs that are within this contract. One is in the area of studying prep time for the elementary school teachers. The other is in the area of merit pay. That one excites me the most. As for elementary teachers receiving prep time, I believe they should have it. It's how do we go about providing it, and I'm committed to do that. The MOU about merit pay fulfills a promise to the community. The conservative board that was elected in '95 made 5 promises. Tonight fulfills 2 of them, and that is bringing in a contract that did not exceed the cost of living. That number was confirmed by an audit, which was ordered and provided by the firm of, Maley Falconeri. So this board is assured that this time, this contract, the figures are right. There's nothing to fight over. And secondly, that there would be no contract without substantive talks as they relate to merit pay. We, with that MOU, have gone beyond talking about it. We have committed the board, along with the association, to put those words to a report that is expected to be provided to this community in June of '99. And it's an exciting opportunity. It's new. It's an inroad that has never been made before with the board or the association. Also, for the first time ever, this board wishes, and I have invited Mr. Jordan to do a public signing of the contract with me. This contract requires a signature of Mr. Jordan and myself. I'm looking forward to providing that. I'm sure he is too. And that's never been done before, and it should be. It's too important not to be. In the past, I understand Mr. Jordan was just sent some papers. He signed them somewhere by himself and sent them back to somebody, and he tells me he doesn't even have a copy.
Yep.
Nope. Those days are over with, folks. They really are. So at this time, I thank you for listening to us. I thank the members of this panel. And Mr. Jordan, take your time.
Now you know I'm definitely a good listener.
Okay. That's not signed yet.
And the teacher in me sees the class is getting very antsy.
Oh, really?
And yes, they're
attention for
watching the
everyone.
clock, and I don't blame them. That, to me, I would like to go to your questions in a moment. And anything that you don't cover with your questions, then we can certainly try to fill in ourselves if we feel something was missing. We have indeed, since Donna came onto the board, Donna and I have been in constant communication with each other. I don't know if Donna felt she needed to do that because no other board member was doing it. Before Donna became president, I don't think I spoke more than 10 or 15 words to all the other board presidents combined. Donna and I have had many disagreements. We've had many agreements on areas, but we've always agreed to keep on talking to each other and to listen to what each other said. Dr. Bose, coming from the outside, brought forth some new initiatives to try to find a way to solve what has been, since I've been here for 23 years, a problem with labor negotiations. About a year into the '93 agreement, I became totally convinced that the system wasn't working. There was a serious problem. Something had to be done to fix it. It should not take 2.5 years to reach a contract. And with that in mind, I talked to the officers that it may be necessary for us to see if there was an avenue open to us where if the board was interested and if they were to come to us first, as they did, we could perhaps begin some early discussions. I approached our executive committee shortly after Dr. Bose asked me officially if we wanted to do this. They agreed that it would be something that we should at least give a try. And after 10 meetings with Dr. Bose and myself and with Vince Patiri and Chuck Sweet present, we came forth with an agreement that finally, this evening, the NPA chose to accept, not without some sacrifice, not without some hardship. I need to emphasize that we feel we have made a sacrifice, particularly in the fact that we have changed the salary schedule for next year, that we will not be receiving the full salary raises that we had expected. We did this knowing it was a sacrifice in order to bring about peace within the association, within the community, within the board. That it's time, as I mentioned at the beginning of this meeting, that people stop stressing the word association, which everyone calls union, and yes, even our own NEA president continues to call it a union, and our PSEA president calls it a union. But we are an education association. We are the education experts within the North Penn School District, and we wish very anxiously to come forth to the administration and to the school board and have them use our expertise so that we can all work together and get things done here within North Penn School District. It's time for the board and the administration and the association to work together. And it's my hope that by bringing about this agreement as we have today, that we have at least 4 years in which we can show this community that we can work together, that we are educators, we're not just a union. We ask that the community stop what we have felt very badly about for a number of years, which we all call teacher bashing. That we ask that the school board look upon us as the educational professionals. And I fully expect, and I must include the press, I appreciate the way the press has handled all this since it became clear that negotiations were going on. I appreciate the way the community has handled it. I appreciate the way our own association has handled it. At the last school board meeting, I actually had to run to the phone and call my wife and tell her, you won't believe what's happening here this evening. And she said, what? I said, absolutely nothing. There's a contract on the table. It was last month. There's a contract on the table. There are no picketers out front. There are no people lined up at the microphone to bash the teachers of the board. We're just going to work quietly and professionally. And as Mr. White's kind of stole my message earlier, I'm hoping that we are indeed setting a new precedent for how negotiations are done. Not necessarily have to be done early or have to be done in secret, but that the association, the board, and the community can simply sit back a little bit, relax, and allow the two sides to get done what has to get done. We do have 4 years to work on that. I must emphasize that I do have 235 unhappy members within my association, our association, and I will do what I can, as I'll be running for a 6th term, to do what I can to bring them some feelings that they have not been forgotten. And just emphasize once more before we go to your questions that we do look upon this somewhat as a sacrifice, and we hope that it's time now for all of us to work together, talk to each other, and listen to each other.
It was almost as long as mine.
No, it wasn't.
Are we disagreeing?
Yes, as usual.
All right.
You mentioned the sacrifice specifically related to the salary step replacement in the first year. How did you sell that to your association membership?
Well, I didn't sell it to 235 people. We looked upon this as, in order to get 3 more years added to this current contract, that it may be necessary to do some things to show the board that we are deadly serious about negotiating, that to show the community that money isn't the number one goal of the NPEA. And it seems that 429 members have agreed with that belief.
What can you do, Jeff, to win back the confidence of those 235 members? Is there anything you can do?
Well, I'm not saying they're totally alienated now to the association. I'm a bit of an optimist, at least that's what they tell me, and I was really hoping that more people would be in acceptance of what I felt was the only way for us to go. The 2.5 years that we've gone through before, we did not need, we did not deserve to go through that again. I think something that we can do is the fact that what's already been happening here within the board, within the administration, within the community, and within the press, that there's a new atmosphere. There's a new North Penn. And by working together and trusting each other and looking to each other as professionals and experts, we will see that things can be done differently. Things have not gone well in the past in North Penn. We shouldn't have had to strike 3 times. We shouldn't have had to work without contracts numerous times. After you settle a contract, the next question shouldn't be in your mind, when are we going to strike next? And that's what I heard as I went throughout the district. It's a difficult district to visit. 17 buildings, and I made a commitment this year that I would get into every single building at least twice and talk to the members. And this is not something that we decided to start doing in January of '97. I've been working towards this since the last contract was signed to see if it was possible to bring about something. They're just going to have to work with us, those people who are unhappy. They're going to have to work with us and see that it's a new North Penn.
I just wanted to double check a number. I was talking to you yesterday, you said there were about 840 members in the union of the association.
Right.
Did you need a full majority to get the rep?
All we needed was a majority of those who voted.
What of the 180 roughly who did not vote? Did they just choose?
Many were unable to get to the polling place. The way that we do the voting is that we have a meeting to present the package. We then have a meeting 48 hours later to debate and discuss in detail. And then a polling place is set up. Teachers, particularly in North Penn, are extremely busy. They work very, very hard at their jobs. They then have their personal lives to fulfill. And sometimes you just run out of time. And I believe that's what happens with most of these people, that just not enough time in the day to do all things you have to do.
Now, if you could grab that mic, this next question's for you. The merit pay, with all the variables in education, different kids coming from different families, different family structures, how can merit pay work?
That's what that team and that commitment is all about. Not only is there a question of how will it work, but how does it work for a district the size of North Penn that boasts not only 850 teachers, but a combined total of all employees of close to 1,600. That merit pay report expected in June of '99 between 4 members of the association and 4 members representing the board could be not only a model to be infused into the next contract with the association, but also a model for the entire district. Merit pay, if it's good enough for the association, it's good enough for everybody. So the challenge is to not only find out how it would work, but in one this size, and we need the time to study it. What is being done across the nation? What is being done within southeastern Pennsylvania? Or are we blazing new trails? We'll find that out.
What sort of a role will the community have in devising this?
The best role the community has is putting in diligent, concerned board members. They have more opportunity than anybody because the community controls the people that sit at this table. More than you realize, the community controls this board. The 4 members that will come in from, will represent the board, will be on that main core panel as agreed to in the MOU. It doesn't stop either the association or the board to put together focus groups, questionnaires, surveys, whatever it takes to get input from the community that would be brought into that core group.
This isn't there to be representatives, or we're going to assume that there'd be board members, right? Or would you
There could be
concur?
board members, superintendent, labor attorney. Absolutely, absolutely. I find it to be a fact with this board that if a board member is not involved, if there are any committees or any reports or any research being done without a board member's hand in it, it won't pass. This board requires representation everywhere.
The merit pay letter of understanding, that's quite ambitious. And particularly to do it within 2 years is a pretty ambitious goal. It's certainly going to be a challenge to see what both sides have to say about it, how both sides feel about it. Teachers are somewhat hesitant about merit pay because there are so many different factors that go into the education of a student. It's a two-way process. The teacher has to be willing to give, and the learner has to be willing to receive and give in return. And I'm also excited by the letter of understanding of dealing with preparation time. It's the first time, besides some brief discussion sessions, that the board and the association will be sitting down to see if they can devise a way to solve what many feel are some of the inequities between the elementary day and the secondary day. In fact, we would like to see if there's some way of bringing about guaranteed preparation time during the teacher day for all teachers, because there is no guaranteed prep time for anyone in the North Penn School District, for any teacher, any counselor, or so on. And both are going to require quite a bit of talking, quite a bit of work before anything can come forth from this board.
On the merit pay, no, I'm sorry, on the prep time for elementary teachers is something I wish to see happen, because I do not wish to see, my idea is that the recess time at the elementary level, which you know is every single day, I don't believe it's necessary for a teacher being paid the wages that they are paid to monitor recess when we need them for far more important duties, administrative, educational, instructional, even tutoring, whatever is necessary. It's far more important than monitoring recess. I think that's an opportunity to place prep time in at the elementary level. But my position is that all elementary teachers should have that. And it's unfair that secondary has had it for a very, very long time, and elementary has, I believe, never had it. So it's something I'd like to see happen.
Are any of you, Ms. Allenstead, Mr. Moore, Ms. Craig, elementary school teachers? You might be able to comment. You are, Ms. Allenstead.
I am.
You seem to sort of know when they were talking about prep time. What would that mean to you as a teacher in the elementary level?
Well, it's a very busy day that elementary people have, but I think that we all work, as Jeff said, we all work very diligently and hard at our jobs. To have an extra 15 minutes, 20 minutes is always welcome. To have some guaranteed time.
It's a guaranteed time to talk to another adult.
Right, and
Teachers spend a lot of time talking to young adults and to children, and we don't have very much time to actually talk to other adults. And that's always been a problem, particularly at the elementary level, where you're usually within a single classroom and with not very many breaks during the day. And that's why we're hoping to see what we can do with that.
And there's always work to be done. there's just always work to be done. Team meetings with other, we meet over lunch to talk about what we're planning as a team to do. We just grab every minute that we can.
Ladies, on this end, any questions?
That's the quiet end. You always have to keep an eye on the quiet end. So.
No, they're the ones writing furiously.
Yeah.
We might be in
Who
trouble.
essentially came up with the idea of delaying the increase until the 14th pay period? Can we attribute that to, or how did that come about?
Somewhere between Dr. Bose and Mr. Sweet.
Mr. Sweet, would you like to comment on that? Have you used that in other negotiations?
Yes, it is a device that allows two goals to be met simultaneously. If you delay an increase, the ultimate salary level can still get to where it needs to be gotten to, but the cost initially of getting there is significantly lower, and therefore two parties with what would otherwise be inconsistent objectives can be made to have consistent objectives, and that's exactly what happened in this case.
I think Vince Pateri, working with Mr. Sweet, the two of them have negotiated numerous contracts. It's not an uncommon practice throughout Bucks and Montgomery County to do salary delays. It's used in numerous associations. It's new to North Penn, and that's why so many teachers and so many association members were somewhat concerned and upset by it. It's something that we're not used to doing, and it's something that we hope we don't have to continue to do into the future. But it's something that was necessary that we felt in order to bring about the settlement.
Are there any local districts that do it? You said some in Montgomery County.
I know it's quite common in Upper Moreland. Mr. Sweet probably knows quite
There are a number of districts in Bucks and Montgomery that have done it at various times. Upper Moreland has in fact done it, and Ms. Pateri and I negotiated that contract. It is again a device to enable something to happen that otherwise couldn't. And whether you use it once or more than once, I've known districts that have used it several different years in the same contract. Did one contract where all 5 years of a 5-year contract there was a delay of varying numbers of paydays. Each time you delay a salary increase one payday, 1/26th of the cost annually is no longer there and does not need to be budgeted in that year. But as soon as the pay raise does go into effect, the salary level that was sought to be achieved is still achieved, and that's the beauty of it. It's one of the few ways to do that. Philadelphia, by the way, has done this. If you look at their settlements, they have had pay increases come in even the last quarter or the last month of a contract.
The board had some needs in this contract that had to be attained. The board needed this 5th year to somehow, some way, be rectified, because what we perceived to have been the damage it caused the community. And I repeat that was not caused by the association. It's my belief that the association negotiated their half of the contract in very good faith. They didn't do anything more than I would have done if on their side.
If I may, excuse me, Don,
Certainly, sir.
one of the tongue-in-cheek exchanges, this was not all as deadly serious as you might think. There needs to be a sense of humor involved in this, and we did talk about the fact that the $1 million, if it could be used to purchase air conditioning for the district, could then be called Air Jordan.
And of course, we all appropriately laughed.
I didn't think it was that funny.
You didn't? You never do when it's at your expense.
It really does. I mean, the atmosphere throughout the entire process was very much different than what we'd seen in the past. The fact that Dr. Bose and I could sit and discuss some things, and after 4 meetings, we both realized that we had gone as far as we possibly could before we had to bring in some of the experts. I've been part of 2 negotiations before this, and I've never seen anything like this before. The collegiality and the cooperation between the two sides, the professionalism. It's just totally impressed me, and that's why I'm hoping that it will always continue to be this way within this district, and just stop beating each other up and get the work done.
I appreciate your comments, gentlemen, but if I could continue, there were the 3 things that the board needed, and that was a rectification of the 5th year as shown in the give back of that first year and the cooperation that we have been able to benefit from. The second was that there's an area that now infuses into the contract volunteerism, where there used to be fees for chaperoning. There were board members, members of the community, that no longer wish to pay for certain activities that they felt teachers should be doing as part of their day or part of their job. An example would be graduation. There are those members of the faculty that received chaperoning pay to attend graduation.
No,
And
that's one of the areas we've always disagreed. They weren't paid to attend graduation, they were paid to work graduation.
Okay.
Okay?
I thought I said that, but,
No,
all
you
right,
said
we'll
that-
use his
You said they
words.
were paid to attend graduation.
I'm sorry.
Which
I get it.
is not like someone came to me and said, we want you to go to graduation to watch your kids graduate, here's some money. They said, we need crowd control, we need student control, we want you to sit in the midst of 50 jubilant seniors and try to keep them under control for the last hour and a half of their public education career. And that's work.
That's work, but board members didn't want to pay for it. So, we have here a piece in here that infuses what we're calling volunteerism, where there's going to be 3 activities. 1 is back to school night. 2 is whatever activities can be worked out between the building principal and the members of the faculty. The 3rd was how do we afford to get ourselves to the salary levels in which the association feels that they need. The freeze in the last year for 6 months, as laid out by Mr. Sweet, was something we needed in order to do that. And I believe that was a first. There's many firsts here for North Penn. There's never been a give back. There's never been that level of cooperation. There's never been this piece that we refer to as volunteerism. There's never been a freeze. These are important to the board, they're important to the community, and could not be here without the understanding of the association.
Don, quickly, what would you label as the sacrifice or the hardships incurred by the board in this tentative agreement, or I should say, in this agreement? It's not tentative.
Benefits, health benefits. We pretty much left the area of health benefits alone. The increase, there is an increase in the copay for health benefits, but it isn't nearly what 9 of us wished, at least 7 of us wished. And it isn't what is recognized to be for real in the community. And we'll take our lumps for that.
And every morning that we met, Mr. Jordan insisted that we buy coffee.
Well, that's a
So
hardship.
he had free coffee every morning we met, and he drank more than 1 cup.
I'm getting boardroom C named after me. Board, B-O-R-E-D.
Are you bored already?
No.
I mean, you went 2.5 years last time around. So anyway, the other sacrifices, I guess, would be that it's till 2001. There are board members that wish to negotiate more closer intervals. There are also those that feel that this takes the issue of teachers, their salaries, their benefits, out of 2 election cycles. I like that idea because it forces candidates to deal with real issues, such as curriculum, buildings, taxation, stewardship, and not use teachers teacher bashing and salary benefits as a main cudgel to get themselves elected. Upcoming candidates will have to convince us that they can deal with more than just teacher pay.
You can't leave silence after you got to jump in there or she'll just keep right on going.
He knows me so well. These two on the end are really scaring me.
No, they're okay.
They're okay? All right. I'll trust your judgment.
No, they're okay.
They're okay?
They're
Oh,
busy.
come on, ladies.
They're busy.
Are we done? Anything else?
Thank
Anything
you, Madam
else?
President.
Thank you, sir. Any closing remarks, Mr. Jordan?
No.
Would you like to shake hands? Thank you. Thank you, guys.